I do like this ring light because of the light purposes, but I don't like the glare on my glasses, but it is what it is. Hey y'all, hey, I'm Phette Hollins, writer, and newly I've adopted the title Life and Story Coach. So mainly that's what this video is going to be about, what I've been doing these past couple of years. So what I discovered was that I am passionate about people doing what they love to do. And I didn't really know that that was a thing until much later. So about, like, I would say 10 plus years ago, when I started trying to figure out what is it that you want to do with your life. I knew that I like to write. I know that I like sharing stories, but I know it was deeper than that. So I would say that my youngest memory, realizing that I was doing it, I would say I was like 16 or 17 years old. I would kind of like interview people, not in a formal way, but in a, I'm always asking people, whatever their job is, profession is, I'm like, do you like your job? How long have you been doing it? You know what I mean? Like, does it pay? Whatever, I will ask. And I started doing this, like, the earliest I can remember, I was like 16 years old. And my hairdresser at the time, I was just like, how long have you been doing hair? And did you go, you know, how long did it take you to go to school? And do you love it? And she was the first person that said that I was inquisitive. And I know at the time I was like, then I said, what's that? Like, then asking another question. So she was like low key calling me like nosy, which I don't take offense to because she was just, you know, she was really nice. But as I started living, you know how like old folks be like, keep living, and you really see what stress is. You keep living. We think we got big problems when we kids. We don't have a damn clue. But as I got older, I started noticing that when I asked people those questions, the answers were different. So my hairdresser, she actually liked her job. She loved doing hair or whatever. But people hated their jobs. And I'm just like, I'm asking, like, if y'all hate your job so much, like, why y'all still working? But again, I'm young and I don't even know. I ended up finding out. So I realized that I wasn't even 30 yet. I was like 20, 29. So this was only like 16 years ago. I finally started asking myself, like, who am I? Because what happens is I think it's good when people know what it is they're supposed to be doing with their life. I think it's dope when people say, oh, I knew since I was a kid that I wanted to be a lawyer, and they grow up and be a lawyer and they like for real legit happy. But for the majority of people, we don't fucking know what it is that we want to do. And we kind of just wing it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I know certain families, it's like a must, like you have to become a lawyer. You have to be a doctor, that kind of thing. We have expectations put upon us before we even get here. Do you know what I'm saying? So we come into families that are already, you know, have like specific traditions and religions and those kinds of things. Not necessarily saying that those are bad things, but once we become of age and we start realizing, like, okay, there are other experiences and things to learn. What if I like this? What if I want to tap into this? Most of the time, it's not encouraged. So what we do is we continue living other people's expectations. You know what I'm saying? So, or I could just be projecting. But I know it ain't just me. But, so by the time we realize that we actually hate what it is that we do, we already got families, we already got bills to pay, so we're just going along to get along. And so because I'm passionate about stories and passionate about people doing what they are passionate about, people started sharing their stories with me, I would say about 10 years ago. Really longer than that. And I just didn't realize that that was what was going on. So I became this human vault of sorts. I used to refer to myself as this human vault because I know so many people's stories, and so many people's business. And it's just intriguing to me. I realize that I'm a good listener. I mean, I take this stuff and it helps me to better understand why people do what they do. It just became like, it was like intrinsic for me. Do you know what I'm saying? So what I discovered listening to people and their stories is that people are stuck. People are unhappy. And in the majority of the time, it's because people don't know who they are. And I understand why. Because we have so many energies swirling around us that sometimes it's hard for us to know, is that my energy or is that somebody else's energy? Is that my idea or is that somebody else's idea? And I know that, of course, some things are easier for others, but for the most part, we're trying to figure out who the hell we are. Like, we're trying to figure out who we are. So we don't know if you have a friend that's doing this, it sounds like a good idea. It's like, that's a good idea for your friend, but it's not a good idea for you. So for me, I've spent 20 years, for real, just dissecting and reflecting and going back into the parts of my life where I'm just like, what the fuck was I doing? It does help that I have all of my journals. I've been keeping a journal. I've been writing a journal since I was 14. But I actually have actual physical, my actual journals from when I was 19 years old to the present. So when I go back and look, I was just lost. And a lot of us are just lost because we don't fucking know. We're so busy. It's so much going on. There's so much noise and distractions in the world, like legit, so much. And it's really hard for us to really, I know I said really 2 times. It's really hard for us to say, okay, to tune all those things out and really get centered and focused, which is why now that I'm older, I understand the importance of meditation, because you have to tune all that other shit out. Okay. So, like I was saying, I learned that people were stuck and unhappy because they didn't know who they were. And because we're kind of just thrown into it. When you're an adult, when you turn an adult, it's like, bam, 18, you grown. But you're not. Because you don't know shit. And I know for me, I ain't know shit. And by the time I was 18, I already had a child. So my focus was, okay, I got to do what I need to do to take care of this child. So I'm taking jobs, doing jobs. And I'm not knocking those jobs because I really thought that I wanted to be a secretary. And I really made good money being a secretary. But I'm just like, I'm nobody's secretary. If you know anything about me, you know I'm nobody's secretary. But it made a good life for me and my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter, because that's who I had at the time. But we just don't know who the hell we are. And we feel like we don't really have time to find out either. But it's important, and it's important to find out who you are, because otherwise you'll just be living out other people's expectations. And life, as cliche as it sounds, life is too short to be living other people's expectations. So, okay. So, me being passionate about people doing what they love to do, I had to figure out a way to help women, because that's who were mainly coming to me. And it was just tearing at my heartstrings to know that I'm looking at these people thinking that they're in these little happy marriages. But the thing is, most often than not, well, I ain't gonna say most often than not, sometimes it's not about the marriage, it's about you as a person. So I know that I was saying for years that I was unhappily married and was just struggling in my marriage, which I'm now divorced. A lot of you already know that though. But when I look back on it though, I was blaming. It was, everybody else's problem but mine. But at the end of the day, it was because I really didn't know who I was. I needed to heal. So I started healing right after my divorce though. And so here I am now saying that we have to heal ourselves. A lot of us are in relationships that we have no business being in because we have not taken the time to have a relationship with ourselves. That's just point blank and to the period. But true alignment is doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing and you feel good about it. It doesn't make you feel frustrated, angry, cause anxiety. It should not cause any of that stuff. So I started thinking, first you need to figure out what it is that you want to do. This is me talking to me as well as talking to you. And I'm just like, what is it that you want to do? Okay, you want to write. Yeah, I want to write, but it's bigger than that. So, and that's another thing. You don't want to be like pigeonholed. And I'm just like, yes, I'm a writer. I like writing scripts because I like stories. So I've been struggling these past couple of years because it's like, yes, I wrote a book because I wanted to tell a story. I made a short film or made short films because I want to tell a story. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to just be known for just being an author. Like Terry McMillan, we look at her, we're just like, she's an author. Ava DuVernay is like, she's a screenwriter. I'm like, yeah, those things are great, but I still feel like it was more. I use books and films as a vehicle to get a story told. That's not necessarily what I want my profession to be. I want to, I'm the type of person that likes to do whatever it is that makes me feel good for the most part. And at the same time, where I'm leaving, like being impactful, where I'm making a difference. So I don't want to just say I'm just this one thing. I hope that makes sense. Because people that have been following me for a while and know what I do, they see me as, as an author writing books. Because the majority of people that come to me, they come to me asking for assistance on how to write a book. Or if they're not coming to me asking me for assistance on how to write a book, they're coming to me telling me their stories, which is why I started writing the books in the first place. So, roundabout way. Because I don't want to make this video too long, but I also don't want to have to force what it is I'm trying to say and how I'm trying to incorporate all of this, all these things together to show you how that hopefully you can see in my story yourself, see yourself in my story somehow. So basically, so then now I'm still reading my notes. I'm about to just read my notes. How we show up in this world is simply just energy, right? So I said it before that we are spiritual beings just having a human experience. And I don't want to, like, again, I don't want to make this all about like metaphysical stuff either. But we are just like energy is just like these like particles, right? You know what I'm saying? And it acts out in the form of like archetypes. So this is another thing I've been doing and studying for the past few years. Just like when I told y'all about psychology and all of that, then I ran into archetypes. And then this became this whole rabbit hole of stuff. But I'm not going to take y'all down this rabbit hole. Y'all can Google that if y'all want to. About archetypes and all of that. But, so, energy is how we show up in the world. So, we all know that, right? Because we know that if we go somewhere and somebody comes in, we feel energy all around us. All day, every day. We are taking in people's energy. So, that has to act out. Otherwise, it's just dust particles. So it has to act out in the form of, I would say, like archetypes. So archetypes are nothing but universal attributes. So it's like commonalities, templates of behavior. So templates of behavior that we recognize. So for instance, when we think of, let's say, a seductress. I always have trouble saying that word. Seductress. So, like, when we see like a seductress, we think of like Marilyn Monroe. I couldn't think of anybody else like more current. I should have did more research. But let's say Marilyn Monroe. That was her brand. That was her image. That's what we think of when we see her. So the characteristics associated with a seductress is like sexy. She's like a temptress, you know, sometimes provocative clothing. That's an archetype, right? Or just like a villain. So like in the movies, villains, bad people, we associate them with the behaviors we associated with that type of person. Like they're evil, they do wrong, they do bad things or whatever. Because I'm not trying to make this super duper deep. But that's basically, that's energy. That's how that's how these people are showing up in the world. Now, there are like hundreds and thousands of archetypes, and we embody several of them at different times. It's not like we have this one archetype and it's just like, ooh, that's it. That's who we are. No. But just to give you an idea about how energy shows up, it has to embody something. So there are good and bad sides to archetypes, just like humans. And Disney has mastered this. And that's why people love Disney, because it's a whole psychology behind it. You know what I'm saying? So in Marvel too, those Marvel movies, people love Marvel because we can see ourselves in the characters. Do you know what I'm saying? And even if we can't relate to being, like, let's say you're not a villain, a bad guy. Even if you can't relate to being one, you can identify what one is. So those are just simply archetypes. So instead of like pointing a finger, we really need to look within, do some reflecting, be honest and say, what is it about me that's causing me to keep repeating certain patterns, to be in certain situations and blah, 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 yada, yada. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. So I wanted to help women like find alignment and to be in flow, because my purpose on this planet is to help women find their purpose, help women be in alignment, because so many are not in alignment. So I just thought it'd be fun to use like film and music as a tool, because A lot of us love film. A lot of us love music, right? And that's just a current recurring theme in my life. Me writing films, and no, I don't write music, but I'm this avid music lover. I am a huge music lover. So because we love music, and the reason why we love music is because music is what feelings sound like. So if you know, music is what feelings sound like. So music gets us hype, happy, sad. There's so many emotions that comes from music, right? But again, it's about energy. Energy is how we show up. So remember I said that, which is why we can feel someone like when they're in a good mood. We can feel when somebody is in a bad mood because it's energy. Our bodies like personify the energy, like for real. And if you're like empathic, that's a whole nother conversation, that's a whole nother thing that I realized. Like when you're an empath, you feel energy intensely. Because some people, I mean, you can tell like when somebody come in the room and they got in a bad mood, it's just like whatever. But when you're an empath, you feel it, you take it in. So I was wondering why if somebody comes in the room, they can be happy or sad. It wouldn't even matter. So depending on my mood, let's just say I'm happy. If someone came in the room, they don't even have to say anything. If they were in a bad mood, I can tell it. I can pick up on when somebody is just full of shit, when they lying, they saying nothing wrong. And I'm just like, what does this mean? But that's a whole nother story. So that's just energy. So like, if you know, if a song come, that's why I like when you about to go to a club. When you go into a club, you don't want to sit up there and play, not saying anything wrong about Anita Baker, but you don't want to sit up there and be like, let's play an Anita Baker song. You know, you want to play something like Geeked Up or something. You know what I mean? That's energy. Do you know what I'm saying? So think about the person that, we all know that person, or it could be you. You're the person that everybody wants to go out with because you have this energy of you're fun, you know, you hype, you dance. You know what I'm saying? It's like that is like this fun girl. I'm just gonna always talk about girls because that's my audience. That's a fun girl, party girl archetype. Even if you're not the fun girl, even though if you can't relate to that, because it's like, oh, but you know you want to be around the fun girl. Even though you can't relate to it, you can identify that that's a fun girl. So that's all that is. So I decided to be in alignment, and by doing things that I love. So I love reflecting. I love self-development, self-growth, because I really think it's important. And I think it's important for everyone to really get to know themselves, because it's the best relationship you will have. You have to have a relationship with yourself before you can have a relationship with anyone else. And I had to learn that. I'm not going to necessarily say it was the hard way. It was the necessary way, because this is the path my life was supposed to take, based on all of the reading that I've done, all of the tools that I've used, if I run my astrological chart, if I run my human design chart, if I look at the Myers-Briggs test, all of them say the same thing about me, as far as this is a journey that I was supposed to take. So I was on the journey not knowing that it was supposed to be the journey that I was supposed to be taking. So the way that I am being of service is by using certain tools to help women find and align with their true selves. That's it in a nutshell. I know this is a long video, but that's it in a nutshell. So I just had to find a way to convey that in a way that's not like boring, and that it could be relatable. So I'm going to use film and music to do that. So, because the ultimate goal is to be in alignment, because life is too short to do anything else. Thank y'all for watching, and I don't know what's next. Keep watching out for my other videos, because I've been doing reviews, and my one movie review about Fatal Affair, the movie on Netflix with Nia Long and Omar Epps, has gotten over 2,000 views and a bunch of shares. So if y'all can find it, watch it. Bye, y'all.